Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the November meeting of the Portsmouth Crime and Gun Violence Prevention Commission to order. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. I'll now ask each commissioner to state their name and attendance for attendance purposes. I'll start with myself, Jalen Drury.
Gene Swenson.
Keith Rice.
James Cullen.
Leticia Sessoms.
Sarah Ray.
George DeGroat.
All right, thank you. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the October 6th meeting minutes. If there aren't any corrections to the minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve as written.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is the the adoption of tonight's agenda. Are there any changes or additions to tonight's agenda?
Motion to approve as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Next item on the agenda are committee updates. Do we have any committee updates from anyone? Okay, I thought we were, okay, we're good. All right, thank you. I had a number of things for our resource allocation committee updates about 2 weeks ago, but since the government is reopened now, I will not share those resources because a number of those resources have since expired. But I will encourage folks to continue to check the City of Portsmouth website for updates on resources as they update it on a weekly basis as well. All right. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, and it seems like we're getting through this agenda pretty fast tonight for the first time. I will move forward now to the statement from the chairman, and I'll ask for you all to bear with me, because usually I'm the one sitting and listening tonight, but I'm actually going to do some talking. Before we move into tonight's nominations, I want to take a moment to share a few thoughts as we close out the first full year as a task force. When I came into this role a year ago, I did it because I knew that young people needed to be centered in these conversations. I knew that people who live with the reality of gun violence every day should have a seat at this table, as I've often mentioned every time we come here each month. I know what it feels like to lose people when you grow up. I know what it feels like to watch families, specifically watch kids, carry the fear that they should never carry as a child. Like many of you, I joined this commission because I care about this city and the people in it, because we know what gun violence does to families, not just what it does and when it happens, but what it does for the rest of their lives. We know what it does to our neighbors. We also know that a lot of folks in Portsmouth, it often feels like the city takes one step forward and 10 steps back. When this commission was created back in 2023, I was still in my master's program at ODU. My hope at that time was simple, was that this would be a space where people with different backgrounds could come together, violence interrupters, folks who work in juvenile justice, community outreach folks, law enforcement, policy folks like myself. That is exactly the mix that we have on this task force today, and that is something that we should be proud of. But the part that has been missing on this task force is coordination. Not just between the commissioners, but between the agencies and the departments throughout Portsmouth and the leaders across the city. And I want to be clear, this is not about pointing fingers, because there's enough of that happening already in our city. But the part that has been missing here is what we were promised early on. We were promised support from the beginning. Some of that support is just now coming into place. And while I'm grateful that support is finally moving, the delay in that support is what people in the community have been saying all along. People feel like change comes too slow here in Portsmouth, or not at all, and that things will always be the same. And for me to be 23 years old, I happen to believe that that's just not the case. I refuse to believe that Portsmouth will always be this way. We hear citywide updates about crime numbers going down, and we should appreciate our chief and our officers and Portsmouth United and our community partners, because the work that they are doing matters and is important. The partnership matters, the outreach matters. But we can't stop short there. Because I guarantee you, if you walk into Churchland Elementary, Churchland Middle School, Churchland High School, all in which I have siblings at, or you go to Prentice Park and you ask the kids who live there if they feel safer today than they felt a year ago, I promise you their statement and their comment will not end with, but crime numbers are down in Portsmouth. That's the gap that we have to close. That's what I've been told over the last 12 months. The way people feel in our city matters. Kids deserve to feel safe walking to school. Kids deserve to feel safe sitting on their front porch. Numbers cannot replace people's lived experiences. So yes, while there has been progress in our city, there is much more work to do. And that work requires coordination, communication, and an actual willingness to work together with one another, to put pride aside and to move with one vision, not just as commissioners and as members of the general public, but as leaders in our city. Every person on this commission plays a role. The organizations everyone here represent plays a role. Our city leaderships definitely play a role. Everyone has to pull in the same direction, or progress will never go far enough. Over the last 12 months, I've asked myself so many times what kind of Portsmouth I want to see. And it's simple. A Portsmouth where kids who look like me or my brother can grow up without experiencing gun violence. A Portsmouth where a mother does not have to worry every time her child walks out the door. A Portsmouth where young people can say with confidence that they feel safe in their own city. That is the future that this commission should be working towards. That is what this commission was created for in 2023. So as we move forward tonight, again, I want to thank all of the commissioners who've been here over the last 12 months for showing up and staying committed, even when it's got hard. Because I believe that when we actually come together and work together, we can actually get things done. As long as we have clear guidance from our leaders, actual support, and we move in a unified effort. And with that, I'll share that I will not be seeking another term as chairman of the commission, because I believe that it's time for someone else to pick up the mantle and carry this stage of work, this next stage of work forward. So thank you for allowing me to share that, as I usually don't speak a lot here. And I'll actually take since we're early in the meeting, I'll take a point of privilege and ask anyone else here if they want to share some thoughts on the last 12 months of us meeting as a commission.
Since no one else is going to say anything, I want to say, Jalen, you stepped into a position that hadn't existed before you sat in it. So you had to come in, you had to figure things out, you had to call people, ask questions. You didn't have someone before you to reach out to. And as we were all learning, I saw you pivot. I saw you, make adjustments as needed. And no matter how we feel about where we are a year later, right? Because we all have our dynamic set of feelings about where we are a year later. I just want to say thank you for stepping up and filling the role. I know you've been taking a lot of hits. And I know how that feels because I'm in a position that didn't exist before. And sometimes I take some hits. So I just want to say thank you for a job well done, especially given the circumstance. We're new, we're fresh. People don't know how long it takes to get something off of the ground, and people want quick results. So I just want to thank you for filling in and stepping up. And if no one else will say it, I will definitely say it.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. All right. With that, we will move forward in the agenda. Next thing on the agenda is leadership nominations for the commission. So according to our operating procedures in alignment with Robert's Rules of Order, nominations for chair will now open. I will also note that according to Robert's Rules of Order, nominations do not require a second. Each nominee will have up to 1 minute to share why they would like to serve and share their vision for the commission as well. At this time, I'll open the floor for nominations for chair of the Crime and Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. All right. So I'm entertaining a nomination for one, whoever would like to speak first, a nomination for anyone on the commission. So,
I'm gonna nominate Mr. Cullen.
we have a nomination for Mr. James Cullen. Are there any other nominations?
I second that.
All right. Thank you for the second, even though we didn't need it. Thank you. Thank you. Are there, are there any other nominations? Seeing none. Well, you're the only nominee here, sir. I still will give you the chance to share your thoughts.
So this is both unexpected and therefore going to be very unscripted. I'm sure you've all felt my frustration over the past year because I have a bias for action. I want to take action, and I'm going to try not to blur any lines here, but I found myself frustrated to the point that I tried to move into another law enforcement position here in this city out of frustration because I feel like we need to be treating this, as you've heard me say before, as an emergency. We need to be moving with a sense of urgency. I don't pretend to know at this point how to do that. I've tried it a couple different ways. I've tried it from within the committee. I've tried it from, again, by running for a position here in the city. I'm trying not to blur those lines here in this discussion. So I don't have a path forward. I feel like Portsmouth United is doing a phenomenal job, and they're moving things in the right direction. I feel like until we have external guidance to create the framework that our group should be applying toward, privately I've heard from several different people, they just don't know where to apply their energies and their efforts. I think that what the city needs to be doing, and by the city I'm talking about all law enforcement agencies of the city, and by that I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about code enforcement personnel. I'm talking about fire marshals. I'm talking about educators who have limited law enforcement powers over the students who they have within them. I'm talking about the sheriff's office that has the ability to interact with students on a daily basis and the ability to share intelligence with the police department. All of these entities need to be working together, and they need to be working together as if there is an emergency taking place, and right now that's just simply not happening. And I don't envy the position that you've been in because everybody's turned and said, how come you didn't magically make this thing happen? But there's some entrenched bureaucracies that have to be broken in order to address the very problem that you're identifying and the very problem that many of us up here are very passionate about, which is it's not about the police department. The police department's doing a phenomenal job. If I've learned anything in the past year, it's what a great job the police department is doing, what a great job the city manager is doing, attempting to wrangle and bring together several lines of effort that have been siloed for, in some cases, decades, or have never coordinated together. I'm just not positive where this committee fits into that right now in its current status, in its current state, which is why I kind of went off on my own and said I'm going to take the bull by the horns and try to create an emergency management approach to some of these problems, coordinating it with other regional law enforcement executives. So I don't know if I'm the guy that you want to be involved in this at this point, because I'm also very it's hard to look at me right now and not see the person who was just running for office. And I'm being very candid about that. A lot of people are like, well, that guy's the guy who just ran for sheriff, so now he wants to, suddenly be in this position. So I'm not submitting myself for it, and I'm not, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, people knowing me that way. And I open that to discussion, for the rest of the group, because if I step into this, I'm going to be saying a lot of the same things I've been saying for the last 5 months in my campaign, and I'm just being as candid as I possibly can be.
Thank you, Mr. Cullen. I appreciate your honesty and your candor. And I will say this before we move on. With there being only one nomination for chair here. You are the person that has been nominated, right? And so clearly there is a unified support here. I'm not hearing anything against that, and so I'll leave it at that. Hearing no other nominations for chair, nominations are now closed. We will now proceed to a voice vote for your nomination. So all in favor for Mr. James Cullen as chairman of the Crime and Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, please respond by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Congratulations, Mr. Cullen. All right. We will now open the floor for nominations for vice chair. Again, nominations do not require a second, and each nominee will have up to 1 minute to share why they would like to serve. We're repeating the same process as chair. I will now open the floor for nominations for vice chair of the commission. Please do not all speak at once.
Chairman, I will nominate myself for vice chair.
I second that.
There you go, Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. We have a nomination for Mr. Keith Rice. Is there any other nominations? All right. Hearing none, Mr. Rice, you have the floor.
I think think between you and Jim, y'all said a lot. I think y'all said that majority of what probably everybody up here is feeling. Some months it feels like we have a direction. Some months it feels like we don't know which direction we're going in. But nominating myself for this role, it will be to support in any way, for everybody that sits up here, along with the city. And I think the biggest thing is just really trying to find out what it is that the city needs from us to move forward and really stick with that. And, Jim, I do agree with you. It probably will be a little difficult, not trying to say some of the things that were said on the trail and the campaign trail, but collectively, once we get the rest of these seats filled, if there aren't any to be filled, let's just move forward and try to execute what's in front of us. And like you said, James, working together is what we're going to have to do.
Right on.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Again, hearing no other nominations for vice chair, nominations are now closed. We will now proceed to a voice vote. All in favor for electing Mr. Keith Rice as vice chair of the commission, please respond by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Congratulations, Mr. Rice. So we have new leadership of the commission, which I am really excited about, truly. I believe that with Mr. Cullen and Mr. Rice leading the commission going forward, going into 2026, after what we've been able to do over the last 12 months, I believe that we're in a position to move forward in whatever way that looks like. And so thank you both for stepping up and being willing to lead this body here. Congratulations again to both of you. Are there any other questions or comments?
Just a comment. This was not easy, and I appreciate Chantel for stepping up on that. I didn't realize that I had that window of opportunity earlier to thank you for stepping into the void on this. Meaning this thing was created out of thin air without a clear understanding of what it was going to be, and the bunch of us sat in the adjoining room in a circle, and not knowing what it was, you raised your hand and said, "I'm willing to do this." And if I did not know that you were 23, I would have no idea. Your maturity, your poise, your way that you carry yourself, and your intelligence is far beyond your years. And I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing, both with us in the future, but also with yourself in the future. It's going to be exciting, and I suspect it's going to be a rocket ride. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cullen. Thank you.
I also have a comment.
All right.
I'm not normally a processor of information. I normally just lead with my gut. But I needed to process I just wanted to take the opportunity to process everything that you said, and also, say thank you. I don't know exactly what my long-term goal will be for this committee and for myself, and what exactly I can offer. So if I'm being very honest, I was working very diligently to keep my head down so that I didn't end up nominated somewhere, because I know that that would not be a good place for me at this moment. But I do want to, thank you, and recognize that I knew right away how important it was to have someone that represents young men of color as the chair. And so thank you for that. I absolutely understand, that there's oftentimes needs for fresh ideas and thoughts, and you've provided that. So thank you. I'm grateful with the nominees, and not just from a self-serving perspective that I didn't have to be included in that. But I did want to say thank you, and I missed the opportunity to say it as soon as you read your notes. So I needed to process through that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I will note it is because of the support of Leticia that I decided to nominate myself for chairman in the first meeting. And so thank you to Leticia for giving me that nod to do so, because I wouldn't have done so without it. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Matthews, are there any updates?
So we have come to sort of like an agreement verbally, I guess, on what TA will be provided from the, I think it's MC&T Consulting. So the next step is to try to get things through procurement. I have some suggestions for the commission moving forward. I'm going to save them until I can speak to the folks that could make the decisions. But I think we should all be have a positive outlook, because I think we are moving forward. The fact that we're still here, there's been months where I was like, I don't know if we're going to meet. Like there's been some of those, we've made it through some rough patches. And even though the progress seems slow, there still has been progress. And it's been a pleasure, Jalen, working with you, and I'm excited to serve James and Keith as they move into their roles. But outside of that TA update, that's the only one I have. We meet, our last meeting of the year is December 1st.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. All right, as she just mentioned, our last meeting of the year is Monday, December 1st at 6 p.m. here. Again, if there aren't any other comments, or Mr. Cullen.
So I guess the last question or comment, from a communication standpoint regarding the next meeting, we've gone back and forth with the city emails and the private emails, and Chantel, are you getting, I don't have everyone here to do a show of hands on who's actually receiving their city email. I know that it switches on, it switches off, there's training that's required, there's phishing, attempts that get you locked out and things like that. And I'm just kind of curious where we stand as far as reliability of communications now going into December.
It's my understanding that if you use the web version of Outlook, you should be able to access it. Now, there is a training, I can't remember, no, I can't remember. It's like a training you have to do that you should have received an email about.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the whole phishing thing. There's like little tests they'll send you.
Yes.
I had one today. I was happy I passed. But everyone should have access via web. The app, I don't think anyone has access to their email via the app for
Right.
whatever reason. Do you, Sarah? You do?
I did, but then I got locked out, and I
Okay.
can't access anything.
And then can you access it on the web?
If I'm being honest, I haven't tried, because
Okay.
I've been getting copied on my other email address for meetings.
Yeah. So I have been, well, I'll just throw Sarah into this. I've always consulted with Sarah. I'll be like, Sarah, do you have access to email via web? And she'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, okay, great. Let me ask a couple other people and see. But the update from IT, it's been a while since I've gotten that update, was that you can access via the web.
Right. And the reason I ask is I'm chair of another board in the city or another commission, and the advice we received recently was to establish separate private email accounts. And I'm just kind of curious where that's going to go. And it's probably a city manager question to be asking, should we be continuing to work with the city email addresses? Okay.
Yeah, it's for FOIA.
I
you
was of
need
the same
that.
opinion, yeah.
The reason why I've been copying the personal emails is because I don't want anything to get missed, and there's been so many issues.
Right. Mr. Carter. Bringing static.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes.
How many people got access to email?
To the city email.
Yes. Just one? All right. Record that. Record the names of the ones that don't, and give me that list tomorrow. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. That was going to be my last request as chairman, is to figure out the email situation. So thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Chair,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Keith.
looking at our date on the agenda, that needs to be revised. It's saying November 3rd. It needs to be 17th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
December 1.
That was our original date. My apologies.
Thank you,
on the
Mr. Rice.
agenda. Okay, gotcha.
Thank you. I do have a question, and actually it's a comment, and then maybe we can have this discussion down the road. But my participation in this committee relies very, very heavily on a schedule. And it was almost impossible for me to make arrangements to be here 3 Mondays in a row after our meeting was pushed back twice. And I understand why we got to that position, but from a personal, I'll only speak for myself. I don't know if other people had to reconfigure things drastically in order to be here, but I did and I did that twice after the meeting was rescheduled twice. But I also think from a public
Public
access
notice,
and from a public access and a perception, it almost appears as if this committee is not as important if our meetings are scheduled and rescheduled again.
Right.
So I would not like for the public to get the impression that our meetings can just be pushed back over and over again, because that to me creates a question of the importance of the work that we do. So I'll just put that comment out there, and this is not to create any hostility or anything about, I understand how we got here. I just would like to say that if I'm going to be able to participate regularly, then the meetings need to be held on the days that they will be scheduled.
Thank you, Ms. Ray. I think that is a fair point, and I think that's something that we can discuss, and I'll defer for that to be added to a future discussion, possibly in December, Mr. Cullen, at our next meeting, so we can ensure that our calendar isn't conflicting with city council, special called meetings, or anything like that going forward. And so I think that's a discussion to be had. Thank you, Ms. Ray.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right. Seeing none, thank you all again for being here. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.